the best driver of Formula One is a driver who knows inside out the machine of the car and the car itself. And in reality, Formula One drivers, they spend a lot of time understanding, feeling, and digging into the car itself. I started as a psychologist, and then I studied computer science, and then accounting, and then an MBA. But all my life, I was building products and marketing products. One of the things that we didn't have all these years was a community.
Welcome to the DevReady Podcast. I have Theo Moulos on today. Theo, thanks for joining me and taking the time out of your day. I know you're in London at the moment, so it's a late night podcast for you.
It is indeed. So thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem. Well, we'll start. For those of you that are new here and haven't heard the podcast before, I don't actually know anything about Theo. This is the first time that I'm meeting him. So I'll let him explain who he is and what he does, because there's no way I can do justice to that. So Theo, take it away.
So I'm currently in London. I'm living in London for the last 6 years, and I was in Paris before that. And that's all my life I was doing marketing. I started as a psychologist, and then I studied computer science, and then accounting, and then an MBA. But all my life I was building products, and marketing products. Actually, I was very much into MarTech, and I decided that I will put together all the know-how from user experience to, because of psychology, and then computer science, and then numbers, and I will leverage all these things into building software. And then, out of the sudden, growth hacking came, and then that was something like 15 years ago, and we said, okay, fine, we'll jump into that boat, and we'll go with the flow. And that was a great success. So we decided that at the time, GrowthHackers, they came up with a new term, which is nothing more than just bringing engineering and marketing together. Actually, it was nothing more than borrowing the agile methodology of development and applying it into marketing, which by that time, it was quite an illusion, because it was very hard to run marketing in sprints. It was very hard because we didn't have AI back then. So it's very hard for a marketeer to follow up the pace of a sprint, especially of a bi-weekly sprint. It was quite a tough thing. So, but still,
Content and setting up plans and funnels and landing pages, it takes time to make all of that. It's not a simple thing to do.
exactly the point. And especially regarding the agile way of doing marketing. And that's why in the beginning, we were calling that agile marketing before growth hacking. It means that you do run new experiments all the time. And in bi-weekly sprints, you are able to implement something, and then design something, decide on something, design something, implement something, and then analyze the results. Now, in 2 weeks' time, that is almost impossible. Well, now with AI, it's absolutely possible, and that's what's happening. But back then, it was quite tough. So that's why not a lot of companies could actually adapt it. But then when I saw growth hacking, where growthhackers.com actually came up with the term, I decided to go in a different angle. So I created an agency back then calling GrowthRocks, and GrowthRocks was a growth hacking agency. Well, actually, what we were doing was quite interesting and also smart. Luckily smart. We didn't necessarily select that, but it was actually the idea of someone building a term and someone leveraging the commercial aspect of the term, because the term was actually growth hacking, and we were focusing on the keyword growth hacking agency. So when people they were trying to learn, they were writing growth hacking, and that is what we call in our terminology the informational keyword, and they wanted to learn. So that's why growth hackers was there, and as a site, and they were building community, they were selling the books and all this stuff. On the other hand, if somebody would type growth hacking agency, that means that they were looking to buy, right, services. And that's how we grew for support or implementation services or a retainer or a partner, whatever. And that's how we managed to grow from zero to a multi-million dollar agency because we leverage that for years.
You hacked the SEO terms.
We hacked the SEO terms, and then together with that, we came up with a university, and we start teaching people, and then we had a lot of things that happened that we said ourselves that was a great thing that we did, because then at the time that we were doing that, CCPA and GDPR came in life, and in the beginning, lawyers, they jumped in trying to play the DPO role and all this stuff, but then they realized quite easily and quite fast that it's a very technical thing, and that's why growth hackers jumped in, and we jumped in to implement all the security policies and privacy rules and all this stuff. And that was one thing that happened that we said, wow, that's a great opportunity. And then after that, COVID came. And well, minus some million of people that they died. So COVID was, for digital businesses, was quite a different thing, because then we had in all countries, we had something like a 3 years jump in implementations, because all the companies, they decided that they need to do digital transformation and they needed to implement something digitally, even if they were not convinced that they need something back then. So we had a lot of companies, but they were having physical stores and they didn't like an e-commerce store, or they had franchisees and they didn't want to compete with them. Many reasons that at that point everybody was saying we need to build a digital business because otherwise we will not survive. And when you need holistic marketing, from building a website down to building the marketing plan, that's exactly where growth hackers come into the picture, right? So we had that as well. So very busy period for us. And then out of that, AI came. And AI is a blend between um, technical and business. And we said, okay, now it's our opportunity to move into growth hacking 2.0 and blend this thing with a lot of AI. And we did that something like 3 years ago. Since then, we created AI the Academy, we created Growth Hacking University, we created a ton of business for consulting and training big agencies and organizations in AI, and implement growth hacking powered by AI. So that was a brand new thing, and we ended up a year ago, um, partnership and getting growthhackers.com, where, because one of the things that we didn't have all these years was a community. Well, and growth hackers all these years, they were building just a community, and they ended up with 140,000 people of founders, marketeers, freelancers, that
Giant community.
they get an email every single day from us. And that was quite interesting. We said, okay, one thing we lack is community. We know how community is important, so let's partner up together. So we ended up now owning and having growthhackers.com and the community, and we are offering new services to the community, and we are doing different stuff. Now, while we were doing that, we were, as typical growth hackers, we were seeing a lot of space in the market for different applications. Most of them MarTech, some training, some info products as well, some books and different things, but MarTech was always our thing, right? So we built different products. We exited 4 of them. The last one was a product for referral marketing that it was called Viral Loops. So we were very lucky, and we sold that something like a year ago, a year and a half ago. That was our last exit. And now we are building a brand new system that is having, it's called GrowthOS, and is a full operating system for growth hacking, digital marketing, and everything to operate as an agency or as a big organization or as a VC with agencies. So, and we're preparing something very nice there, and I feel that I see an exit coming quite soon.
Well, I can see how that would be a powerful tool for an organization to then run and have the AI support to quickly do it, rather than their internal marketing team, who the marketing team may be versed in, say, websites or WordPress generally, because that's the main platform that most websites are run on. But then having to understand how to use AI and build tech is very different. So having that support where they don't have to worry about it and they can leverage it immediately will be a huge benefit.
Yeah, indeed, that's what we realized. Another thing for us very important was that we were having and we were investing heavily in building playbooks, and we were using these playbooks for ourselves in order to be very efficient. We are, as an agency, we run with 70-80% margin rate, which is not very common. So most agencies, they run with 30, 25, 30% margin rate. And we did that because we were squeezing everything and we were systemizing everything and we were writing playbooks. And when AI came, and because we were lucky enough being half engineers, of all of us, or half marketeers, depends how you see things, then we said, okay, let's materialize these playbooks. Let's create a system where all these playbooks will be encapsulated. And that's what we did. We started a year ago and a year and a half ago. And a year and a half later, we have created something which is of tremendous value. We have a ton of users already, a ton of agencies. We never advertised it, but people they see the value and they jump immediately. And what I like with that is that, because when you have a system that is a holistic system, because by design it needs to be a holistic system, from content creation to training your AI model down to creating podcasts or newsrooms or hosting a podcast, all these things, or finding collaborations or link builds and everything. So that's a holistic way of seeing marketing. And when you have such a broad system, you're always afraid of the stickiness. You never know how much the users will be using it, and then I see that users that actually they're so sticky that I'm very impressed. They keep working with the system from task management down to doing everything for the business in a way that is very impressive, and that is giving me a lot of happiness, first of all, because we invested a ton of time and a ton of energy and budget, but because I see the value that they are getting, and I see them smiling, and I see them being very efficient. I see them getting more clients because of that, and do the job in an amazing way. And the more I see AI, the more I realize that marketing in general is changing a lot, and we are in the process of building one person agencies where that one person will be able to do a ton of stuff so that they couldn't do before. So but for that they need tools, and I feel that we are giving them these tools together with the services to support this kind of tools. So we moved from a pure service company to a productized service company to a product company. So now we made the full transition, and we used to have our revenue streams to be services primarily, and then now we have services and then training and then products, but very close to each other. And that's great. That for us, that is giving us a ton of opportunity. Just for you to understand what I'm talking about, with half of the team we used to have 2 years ago, we we serve 3 times the number of the customers that we were serving back then, just because of the efficiency that the tool is creating us. So that alone is telling me that more agencies and more people and brands adapting that will see the same benefit.
Oh, definitely. And I completely agree with that sort of a number. So we run, because you don't know anything about us either, we run a software development business in Australia. Been operating it's been 18 years this year. So I started in my final year of uni of the business. But from the release of ChatGPT, took me a few months, and then I understood what was capable with like ChatGPT when it came out at the end of 2022. And then I think it was 2023 March, I started building what we're calling DevReady.Ai. So our productized offering of our consulting process on how to design product. And using that, I'm 5 times more efficient in designing and architecting a platform now. And we've put that to market, but that's on hold at the moment. But I completely understand the benefit of what AI can give you because of how fast, and it's not just how fast, it's when you put the knowledge into it and put it into a workflow that guides the user, that's what speeds it up, because then people don't have to think and that makes it repeatable. Where just using ChatGPT on its own, like you would know when you're probably experimenting, it's you're opening text files, you've got prompts saved. All right, what's the next thing? This is the first one, this is the next one, then this is the next one, and you're copying and pasting everywhere. And that's not a way to have a systemized, repeatable process.
Right. Anthony, you are saying something very important, because what I realize is that there is a misconception in most of the people, and people, they believe that because they work with AI, they're very efficient. And what I'm telling them is that's not necessarily the truth, because there is a lot of inefficiencies that you may have while working with AI. And that is one thing that they need to realize. Now, another thing quite important here is that with our GrowthOS, we analyzed and we absorbed and we utilized all the playbooks. So we ended up with a menu for SEO alone of something like 30 different items. So 30 different tools for SEO that's an SEO expert could use to do the job. And then when we saw that, we realized such a nice thing. Now we have the 30 tools. And then we realized that how many people they are in the level of using those 30 tools. And I had the same discussion with a guy over Ahrefs, which is a very typical traditional SEO tool. And I said, how many people they actually know how to use Ahrefs in its full depth? And the answer is very few, and those are very senior. So the most of the people that they start with SEO, they know very few things about Ahrefs, for example. And it was the same for us. We are giving them 30 tools and 30 menu items for SEO. And the problem is the question that we were getting from SEO experts that they were getting into the platform was, how do I use those? They didn't know the thing. And then we said, okay, that's a nice idea. We created all the tools out there. Now let's put them into an MCP server and let's serve them through a ChatGPT app. And now through a ChatGPT app, and we train the whole system with something like thousands of examples. So now people, they just start with a natural language request. My rankings dropped after the new Google updates on algorithm. Why that happened, and what can I do to resolve the situation? And then the system is using our tools through the MCP client and MCP server, and is delivering the result, which is amazing. So when we thought that we have something sophisticated, then we desophisticated that and we created something bloody simple for users to use. So that's the idea, and that was amazing. And the technology is leading us that direction, and I'm very satisfied with that.
Just thinking back now, it's amazing how far it's come in. It's 3 years now. It was released in November 30th. Last year was 3 years. And the rate of change and how much, not just efficiency, it's more the not even the capability, it's more like how smart it is, how it's formulating sentences and being able to word things better and explore things on its own without you having to say, go to this website and do research. Just that intent makes it a lot easier. And then having the MCP servers so you can provide your knowledge to anyone without going through your platform, again, is another huge benefit.
Right. And it makes me think that something, I don't know if you are actually questioning that yourself, but I keep saying, how is possible that we didn't discover this kind of stuff before? Because up to for many years we were using APIs, right? So we had APIs, and these APIs we were doing stuff, and then we were using a lot of APIs, and companies, they had a lot of tools, and they were giving it a separate API for each one of them. And then what MCP is nothing more than all these APIs together, orchestrated by AI, deciding what is the correct API to call based on what the user is asking in natural language process. And when you see these simple reality, then you realize why that didn't exist before. And the answer is because we didn't have the AI to orchestrate and translate the natural language process of the user to the tools on the other end. And but in reality, we use very complicated terms to describe very easy things.
Effectively, yeah, it's an interface to APIs. That's all the MCP server is for those listening. Yeah, it's the same technology that's been there, except like you mentioned, it's being orchestrated. So the AI is deciding which one to call, rather than 4 years ago, if we were writing a similar system, we would have to say, if the user query has a word that says this, use this one. Else, if it says this, do this one. That's just disappeared.
Correct. And the interface now is just a chat, which means that we democratize everything. We democratize, up to now, I was saying we democratize innovation. And I wrote a lot of articles about that, democratizing innovation. And I like this term because now we can all innovate. But now I realize we democratize SEO, we democratize paid ads, we democratize content creation, we democratize everything because we bring tools to simple people using simple interfaces to do complicated things, which is great.
Yeah, and that's always a challenge is making the complicated look simple. That has always been the most difficult thing in anything to do with tech or as a consultant or in any service industry. You have knowledge and it's quite complex and it takes a long time to build that. And then to be able to distill that to a client or to the market as part of content is very, very difficult. And the AI can just cut that out. But there's still a place for the experts because like in your, if it was Growth OS or Marketing OS, I'm not sure exactly the term you used, but in the operating system you're building, all of that knowledge is being put in, it's guided, it's designed to deliver in a certain workflow. It's not just, the AI may know most of those things already, but it's not packaged in a way that is going to be suitable to someone because you still need to know what questions to ask otherwise.
That is very correct. And what I'm saying quite often, and I'm explaining people, is throughout my trainings. I'm also teaching in NYU in New York, so I'm teaching my students the same thing. I'm telling them that the best driver of Formula One is a driver who knows inside out the machine of the car and the car itself. And in reality, Formula One drivers, they spend a lot of times understanding, feeling, and digging into the car itself because they know that they will have to use the car in its extents, and that's why they dig in. They know bit and bite of everything, and then that is allowing them to drive the car in the best possible manner. And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to know. We could use, if we like, the simplistic or simple interfaces, but we need to know what's behind the wheel, and we need to see what's behind, and we need to know in depth the topic, and that is making us better than others.
Yeah, definitely. So, in the whole growth hacking space, we might just jump into that a bit more now and say, what are some of the things? So, you're going to have businesses at different levels. I think potentially listening to this, there's people with an idea that haven't done anything yet, don't know where to start, or there's the business that are running like a startup going now to scale and wants to go. That's probably where the growth hacking probably comes into more, be more important because when you got the first idea, you need to actually test the market and build the idea. Whereas once it's running, that's when you need to understand how to get the systems and the processes in place to get to scale.
Correct. When we do bringing an idea to life, something like what we call the go-to-market, we don't practice growth hacking because it's too heavy for them. So we run go-to-market strategies clearly of for pre-launches and referral campaigns and everything for getting the initial traction. Now, growth hacking is when you want to grow and you don't know why. Let me explain you something. We had a lot of cases where people that are coming to us saying that we want to change our website. And my first question to them is why? What is making you willing to change your website? Do you have the numbers to support that? Do you see something not working? And then most of them, they say, we're not satisfied. It's not bringing a lot of leads or sales. And I said, okay, now let's see the measurements. And the only measurements they have is number of traffic on the website and number of sales. And I'm saying, wow, these two, the top of the bottom, are not enough for you to change the website, because there are so many things in between that we may, by creating a new website, we may actually destroy them, or in the best case that we will get more sales, we will not know why. So that's the first thing we need to do, is that we need to establish some measurements in the old site, the one that you have, in order to understand the funnel. And when we understand the funnel, then we know what needs to be fixed in the new website. And then we will be able to understand. Now, and the thing here is, we have a strategy that we borrowed from a company with quite a lot of success, quite tremendous success, which is called Amazon. And Amazon, they have a very clear growth recipe. And that growth recipe consists of 6 different pillars. For example, they have a pillar that it's the pillar who is deciding the vertical that they will get into, right? So they started with books, they moved into gadgets, then they moved into groceries, then in cars, real estate, whatever they will do next. And then there is only, for this pillar, there is only one KPI or OKR, that objective key result, that they are going after. This is something that they call a North Star metric. Now, there is another department very connected to them, which is the department who is actually for the niche and the vertical of the first department. They're looking for vendors. So if they decide to go for groceries, so this team will go out finding vendors and grocery shops to be listed. And again, there is only one North Star metric that is actually monitoring the growth of that. And then there's another pillar that for every vendor that the previous one is bringing, then they need to get products and they need to drive traffic to the product pages. You see, and then another one who is trying to convert these product and put it on the cart, and then someone else who is trying to increase the value, the basket value, and then someone else who is trying to bring you back when you will actually purchase. So, but that is a recipe. And what I'm saying is that is a recipe every company needs to have. And that's exactly where growth hacking starts. By defining your recipe, by defining the growth pillars, and by asking yourself, what are the important elements that if they will grow together, then you will grow as a company? And what are the metrics that these will impact? The one metric that will make the difference. That's all we need. One metric, the North Star metric, and then we have some supportive metrics. And the idea behind that is, we say, okay, let's go for that. Let's see what we have there. And then let's see what we need to do as a brainstorming. So if we believe that we need to bring more traffic, okay, let's work around ideas of getting more traffic. And then when you will come with an idea, I want to bring a new website, I want to build a new website, then the thing is, okay, then what will be the metric that will be impacted by changing the website? And if here you don't have the right answer, that task, that idea, that brainstorming idea will never get prioritized. That's the whole idea, right? Building a recipe and understanding what you need to do next. And by doing that, how the numbers are growing.
Yeah, so it's just really, it's understanding your process, your flow. If you haven't got that, if you don't understand it, you're not able to then improve any of it, obviously. And then from my experience, it's a small change in one then makes bigger changes down the line, especially if it's top of funnel to bottom of funnel. If you can increase the top funnel to the next step by 10%, what does that do to the rest of the line? Or 1% even, if you're talking in large numbers, that makes a big difference. That's a flow-on effect.
Correct. And another thing here quite important is that you need to understand that this process runs in a very agile manner. So even a task saying building a new website, that's a task that it will take for 6 months, is not acceptable. So because we run in bi-weekly sprints, which means let's divide building the website in small parts that we will implement every 2 weeks. building one page, building migrating something, changing the card, changing the landing page, whatever. You see? And then you realize that rather than going waterfall, you go agile. That alone for marketeers is huge because they were never used in running agile businesses. They were always, marketing was by design a waterfall thing, right? I want more sales and I want a new website. I want a new campaign. I want to launch. All these are waterfall approaches. So, and we are trying to tell them, look, it's not waterfall anymore. So you don't want to take the risk of a waterfall approach get failed. Well, agile is okay because it could fail. It will not, and then you decide what you systemize and what you drop. Because those that didn't work, then you drop them. That's the whole thing.
I think that's probably a bigger change in the industry simply just because of COVID. With TikTok really took off everywhere because of COVID, and then short form video is now the thing. So I think that's probably affected maybe that marketing strategy, because it's no longer about we're just putting out a big campaign and then it takes 3 months, we're launching here, and now there's print ad, there's media, there's whatever media. Now it's constant short form content that is being pushed. I know that's been planned for like big brands. Those are planned months in advance and they know exactly all the little posts they're doing. But as a smaller business, you're not doing that. And you might not be doing anything at all, the complete opposite end, because you don't know where to look or where to start because you haven't understood your process.
Correct. It started, it's very interesting. It started like short form content because everything went agile. So, and we started with technical stuff, but then we moved into creating content. So right now we don't do large content campaigns. We do very agile short form campaigns. And then we realized that there is even a trend in Gen Z that they like short form, but not as short form, but as a small chunk of something bigger. And then we realized that there are in TikTok, for example, I don't know if you know that, but there are movies that are trending and they have millions of views that they have one episode of 30 seconds every day. That's all, as a small story. And they build movies with real actors, with real scenarios, and real scripts. Everything is real, even the whole thing is real. But they serve that as 30 seconds episode, which is amazing. You see? So
It's agile content.
it is agile content, exactly, which is impressive.
You can watch a 30-minute video on TikTok as well. People will get stuck watching them. Short form's not for everyone, but is the dominant thing at the moment. So it's to funnel that back into your marketing plan and be able to adjust and jump on trends. You really do need that short period because you don't want to do a trend 3 months after it's done. Everyone's going to think you're behind, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're like an old business and doesn't understand things. So yeah, having that agile approach to the way you go about your marketing is very important, I think, these days. I think everything you're saying is right on the money. Not that I'm an expert in marketing or anything, just on the periphery and understanding how everything works.
Yeah. What I'm trying also to convince founders, and I see that myself, is that don't afraid building products and trying these products out there, even if it is quite early. Because if you wait to the time that you will have no bugs, most probably it will be too late. So, and that's why we're telling them, look, rather than just building an MVP or a PowerPoint, even worse. So, and we have even a motto saying less PPT, more MVP. But by more MVP, we don't mean something like a mockup. We mean something like a vibe coded thing that it actually works. It gives you the feeling of the product, and you would like even to get it. So, and we are telling them, look, it's very important that you keep your money for marketing, because what was happening up to now is that they were calling us, they calling the growth hackers at the time that their resources were already exhausted. And I mean resources, financial and service and human resources, because they were developing again and again the product. And we have a statistic saying that an average product in the market has been developed 3 times before going live, for many reasons, because specs have been changed, because technology has been changed, because the team was not the correct one from the beginning, and they changed the team, and then they changed the software as well. So, but the point is that a lot of founders, they come to us asking for marketing, saying, look, we have an amazing product, we are ready to go live. We have only two problems. One is we don't have traction, and the second is we don't have money
Yep.
to pay for marketing. And then I'm saying, best of luck, because without those two, there is nothing you can do. And I know a lot of amazing products sitting there doing nothing because they don't have any distribution policy, because they came up with a final product at the time that the money were over.
And we see that a lot. So 80% of our work is what we call rescue projects, where the client has jumped in too early with a team and they started building without knowing what they wanted to build correctly. They've built the wrong thing, or sometimes they go for the cheapest quote, and then they get that team doesn't have enough procedures and processes in place to deliver good software. So things go wrong, or they've just not understood what to build. And then they're building the wrong thing and they keep changing things because the other team hasn't taken them through a process to understand what are they trying to build. We have what's called DevReady. So we create the architecture plans for a house for the software before you start building. So you know exactly what you're going to get. And we always tell people you need to have money left for marketing. It's almost like the same, what you're spending on the build, you need to spend on marketing. Just building something doesn't mean someone's going to use it. And you mentioned there is lots of software that just sits there on the shelf and never gets used. And as someone who creates that software, it's like you're working for nothing. You don't do it for the money. We're doing it because we enjoy programming, creating ideas, and delivering value and helping people.
That's very correct. And I want to see the products being successful, and I want to be able to say myself, I participated in this success, and I put my small thing in there, and they were doing good. And one thing quite important here is that I do see a lot of times that a third product, a third problem out of running out of resources, running out of money, is that the founders are disconnected from the business. That's another thing that I see quite often, that they believe that because they got, and I'm sure that it happens with you as well, that because they got a marketing team, that the marketing knows what to do, then they need to stay back and they need not to be involved. And what I'm telling them is, no, it's not because you got, and I'm sure it's happening with the development team, right? So they are giving you the option to develop something, and then they stay back saying, okay, now we're waiting for you to bring everything up. But in reality, we need the founder. We need the founder because we do not, and we will never know the product so good and the idea and the market as good as the founder. So that's why I keep saying to founders, stay in the business, have a, have a say, and not just a say, but be involved, actively involved. And if you are involved, then together we can build stuff. Don't just ask us to run the show, because we are not founders, we are marketing agency, right? We need the founder. The founder is different. The founder needs to put his or her voice in front of the brand, being in TikTok, being exposed, getting followers, all this stuff. Marketing agency will never do that. Marketing will enable the founder to do so. So we need to have resources, and we need to have engaged founders. That, if you will ask me, Theo, what is the secret of success of companies and startups growing? I would say keep money for marketing and keep founders involved. These are the two things.
Agree. They have the vision. They have the drive to keep going when the market's telling them no, and they know that this is the right idea. And they'll be in the content. They're not coming to you because you're not going to be making content for them with yourself. You're enabling them. You're helping them.
And that's why they shouldn't exhaust the resources at the time that they come and they start promoting, because then they will be too tired for that. And we see that quite often. We see that founders, they come after years of developing a product. The product may be good or not, but we don't care, because at the end of the day, the market will say that, right? So that's why we need to bring it to the market, and we need to start pivoting. And if you don't have the luxury of doing that, most probably you will do nothing. And that's why I would say, if you're too tired because you spend all all your time and energy in building the product, then now who will do the marketing? And if you don't have co-founders, or if your co-founders they quit it because they disagreed with the product team or the development team, then you are left alone and you are a tired guy, and then there is nothing that we can do to rectify that.
No, the quicker you can get to market and get feedback, whether it's on the product or even in your marketing, because that might not be the right approach or the right target straight up, is better for you. So, great points there, Theo. We'll probably have to end it here on that note. If anyone wants to reach out and find out more about GrowthRocks or growth hacking, how can they do that, or reach out to yourself?
The good thing with me is that it's very easy to find me. So, and if you go into growthhackers.com or growthrocks.com, it will take just a few seconds to book a call with me. So it's very easy. My email is theo@growthrocks.com or theo@growthhackers.com. Same, as simple as that. And they can email me, and things are very easy on LinkedIn as well. So easy stuff. I will not get lost.
Theo, it's been a great chat. There's been a lot of insights into the process and the approach, not just about marketing, but AI and just that startup mentality and that mindset to actually try and do something. I appreciate your time and thank you for coming onto the DevReady podcast.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.